Yeah, I'm gonna kick off shortly. Okay, guys. Let me get this going. If anything fails, anything cuts out, just bear with me. If the noise goes, sound goes, just drop a note in the chat. If you think of questions as we're going through the presentation, please just drop them into the Q&A for me. I want to make sure that we don't forget that. I'm going to allow that to open. Cool. So Q&A has been open, so you guys should just be able to chuck some questions in there as we're moving. And I want to close that out. Okay, right, perfect. I want to go. So, guys, to start getting us underway, just a quick introduction. My name's Paul Sullivan. For those of you that don't know me, I own a HubSpot partner agency in London called Arise GTM, and I am the author of Go to Market Uncovered, and that book was published by Wiley last year, and it's in all major bookstores and available on Amazon. So, feel free to dive into that. It gives you a little bit more about my thinking, my tools, and how I think go-to-market should be run on HubSpot. And hopefully, this is going to knit that all together nicely. Now, I'm lucky because at the beginning of the year, I said to the partner team that I was going to run more hubs. I didn't actually run a single one last year, which was bad because the year before we were in the top 5% of HubSpot user groups globally. So we were like 95%, and our attendance and topics were really good. And I think the biggest event we had was like 470 people on call, and we did some sales training. So that was good. But before this session, we asked you the one question, which was, what was your number one go-to-market challenge for 2026? Now, I just want to check. Yeah, go-to-market. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to check something there because my notes. I want to make sure my notes are not on the screen. And so what we discovered were that your answers weren't random, and that they clustered into 4 very clear pressures. So the topics of conversation today are: the market has spoken. You guys are the market, the people that registered for this event, you guys are the market. And I want to talk about the go-to-market shift. Hey, Michael, thanks for the comment. I want to talk about those 4 core themes. So this isn't a session where I'm just going to come at you with my own perspective. I've listened to the group. I pulled out those challenges, and then we grouped those into 4 themes. And I'm going to walk through those 4 themes in line with the go-to-market. So hopefully everyone that registered for this event will have something to take away, and that's my number one goal for today. Right, so before we move forward, question was, what was your number one go-to-market challenge? And then we had those 4 clear pressures. So those 4 clear pressures are messaging and audience confusion, pipeline conversion and efficiency, AI usefulness versus AI noise. So what's useful and what's just like gibberish in the background, and then data, systems, and scale. And they really do make sense, because AI sort of allowed us to scale everything, but I think most people are scaling things badly, right? My number one bugbears are platforms like Instantly.ai, where we are enhancing bad behavior by ramping up spam volume. We pretty much are saying, I'm disrespecting my buyer. I don't care whether you find my message is relevant or not. And because of that, I'm going to buy 100 lookalike domains. I'm going to get myself 10 or 20 email addresses on all those lookalike domains. And if you spam me or block me, I don't care, because all I care about is hitting my number. And I think that's what the buyer is now saying to themselves. They're looking at your emails, and we'll get into this later, and saying to themselves, did you even bother put any time into figuring out who I am, what might be interesting, why this is relevant to me now, and all those other things. So I want to get into that a bit later on as well. But first things first, we can talk about the go-to-market shift. And one of the first things that come out for me was that go-to-market is no longer about a set of motions. So we talk about the go-to-market motions. There's the sales motion, there's the marketing motion, there's finance, there's retention, because retention became a big thing when the funding dried up and tech companies all of a sudden had to start being a bit more fiscally responsible, right? So it's no longer about a set of motions, it's about one motion. And I think the questions that have been asked, the way that I went about trying to answer these, I'm going to show you that what we're looking for is a smooth operating system at the end. But how do we go from aligned motions to a single operating system and that one sense of who we are? And so we came up with signals. Signals became a big thing, right? So signals, decisions, and execution, they were your major trends for us, right? Then we have AI not replacing go-to-market, right? So a lot of people are thinking, oh, AI somehow is going to replace my go-to-market. And we're seeing a ton of people saying, oh, I built a team of 50 AI agents and my go-to-market is now running on automatically, and I travel the world and I'm making millions. And it's just rubbish. These people are just treating you as the pipeline, you're the funnel, and that is absolutely not the truth in any way, shape, or form. And I've listened to Bain, I've listened to McKinsey, I've listened to all of them. They're all doing research in this space, and no one yet is providing the real value from those agentic solutions. And we'll look into that as well and find out what's going on. And then finally, we've got, sorry, it's frozen. There we go. And then finally, we've got what's HubSpot's role in 2026. And most of us need a system of action and not a CRM. So on our team, we've designed something called the Arise OS, and we design those go-to-market systems that actually absorb AI without breaking. And that's the main thing. Where and when does AI fit into go-to-market, and how is it going to solve any one of those 74 go-to-market challenges that you guys presented me with before I put this deck together? So what are those core themes? Well, the first theme is the messaging and audience, right? So we want to stop guessing. That's not what we want to do. We want to stop guessing and we want to get into those answers. And here's what the room said was important to them in this regard. How do I deliver the right message to the correct audience? Because I'm not getting any replies, and now I've got a load of confusion about what my go-to-market looks like. Does that feel like that's what you guys who are present are feeling? Anyone can come at me in the comments and let me know if that's what your sense of the world is right now. Yep, doing your barber. Yep, great. Okay. Come on, guys, got to get you warmed up, get you involved, make this a bit more interactive. So the problem isn't actually messaging. I don't think that anyone who's really strong at go-to-market would say that messaging is a problem. Yeah, sure. Don't get me wrong. If you send messages that are just kind of incoherent, or they're just, lazily AI generated, then yeah. But actually, what we're seeing is there's a blindness to the number of signals that we've now got available to us, right? Because AI improves messaging, but it only improves messaging when it's tied to intent, lifecycle stage, but also the truth about your ICP. Now, historically, when we talk about ICP and personas, especially on the persona side, they always seem to be something that's formed in arrears, right? We go out, we run a load of interviews, we interview our people, we say, right, these are their problems. Someone builds a profile, it gets lodged on a drive somewhere, maybe some decks are formulated from that, and then that information stays static until the next point someone goes out and interviews some personas. And those things don't tend to run parallel with GTM, right? So the sales team are running on data that can be 3, 6, 9 months old, sometimes 12 months old, just depends on how mature the organization is when it comes to doing these things. And so for me, it feels a little bit like this. We're looking for intent. We also want to understand the life cycle stage of where those people that know us are, but somewhere in between, we've got to find all the contextual relevance to get us there, right? So that area for me is where the signals come in: hiring, firing, job improvements, promotions, fundraising, all of that other stuff. But that, for me, still isn't good enough for you to do a real strong go-to-market motion, because those things are the common things that we've had at our disposal for a long time, and yet we still can't seem to find out what it is. And so further in down the line, we're going to look at what that might be like. So one of the other things that sort of comes to mind is that this is how the old GTM sort of worked, right? I've got some intent, I've got my life cycle stage, and this is how I'm going to crack the message out. And so what happens is we think, right, I've got Apollo. Apollo says this company is searching for HubSpot, for want of a better conversation, or marketing, lifecycle marketing, or whatever it is. And yes, these people are in our CRM, and we've seen them doing some bits and pieces around our marketing. So let's send them a message, and hopefully, like that's going to land. But if you use AI and you do this, it's really guesswork dressed up as relevance, and that's the problem. Like we feel enabled and we feel confident that because we've got this intent and we can see that they're at a certain stage in the life cycle, we can send them the messaging, and a lot of the time we don't land. That's why we're seeing extremely low numbers in terms of engagement with emails and communications and returns. So what can we move to, and what does that look like? It's only a slight shift. And so we say Arise OS, but for us, this is what we're seeing working. It's the segment and signal with the true pain around decision context that gives you the message. Basically, you need to know more and more about your customer than ever before, because all AI is really enabling us to do is expand the behavior we currently exhibit. It's not teaching us to do anything better. Well, in regards to out of the box, it's not teaching us to do anything better. Yes, we can use AI to query our own data, but we're not getting stronger and better just by enabling AI in our CRM. It's just not doing that, right? So you don't start with the messaging. It starts by understanding what the problem pattern is at the segment level. So your segment signals are not personas, are not industries. They're shared pains, they're the constraints, and they're the outcomes that the buyer's looking for. And then when you get into signal interpretation, you're looking at behaviors, the commercials, the operational sides, and all of the buying friction that can fall within that, and not just the activities that are going on, not just the landing pages they're visiting and the ads that they're interacting with. And then when it comes to the decision context, well, what decision are they actually trying to make right now? How are we using the data and the signals that we've got to understand what the problem is they're trying to solve, right? Because ultimately, intent data looks like keywords plus life cycle equals a message. That's what we've just seen on the previous slide. And now we're saying, well, no, if go-to-market, especially on outbound, and stay with me here, is here's a sequence of messaging, here's my list of buyers that fit the profile. I'm just going to hit every single person in this segment. And when I say segment, I'm not talking about divulge segments from the main list. I'm just saying that most people just say, right, if I've got 1,000 people I'm going to email, I might email 250, 4 groups of 250 slightly tweaked messaging around this same narrative, but it's boring, it doesn't work. And that's why so many people feel like, why did you send me this email? It doesn't even resonate with me right now. And so we're moving into this new world where we've got more signals, the ability to find more context, the ability to access call recordings and all these other bits of data that we can collect and use AI to help us give further context around why are people making those decisions and trends. But that all comes back down to segments again. So you're no longer operating under just the CRO, the CMO, or whoever it is that you're selling to as a buyer persona. It's actually this role segmented by this problem. And so we need to get deeper in order to get better. So that's where lifecycle does become meaningful, but it's around the decision context. So if the persona, the target, the buyer is not, further along your funnel enough, if you want to talk in terms of funnels and not flywheels, but if they're not that far along in their buying journey, then your messaging needs to change. And I don't think a lot of companies are quite there yet. But when it comes down to that messaging execution, it's about the copy. But AI only accelerates your copy. It doesn't invent it. So this pyramid is much stronger than just intent and lifecycle. This is why segments show what breaks for them and what outcome they're chasing. And this is why most AI content fails in HubSpot, because more experienced operatives, they'll go for more personalization, and less experienced go out of the box and look for more volume. But what does personalization actually look like, right? It's not name, company. It's got to go deeper than that. And how, we're doing things like looking at the LinkedIn company page, looking at the about, and we're using that to leverage some more context into actually how this person that we're trying to sell HubSpot services to, or whatever it is we're selling, how what we offer helps them get more of what they need. So some people are just trying to sell their services point blank. Hey, you must have seen this. Hey, Paul, saw you did this. Have you got 15 minutes? I mean, that is rubbish, but we're seeing that exacerbated by poor sales behavior across the board. And whilst we're talking about that, I wanted to show you some examples of what bad email looks like. So let's dive into that. Anyone know this one? This is the very robotic sales pitch. It suffers from a clear lack of humanity. It's got excessive formality, and it focuses on buzzwords over real value, right? So why it's bad is because it's like I would never talk to you and say, I hope I find you in good spirits. Too much buzzwords, leverage, synergy, and it's clearly templated. And so what a buyer does is just automatically tune that out. We scan that. Anyone reading that probably scan that in under 5 seconds, right? So you scan that first before you actually read it, and then you just say, this has got nothing to do with me. It doesn't feel personalized. I don't know why this person sent it to me. And if you can tune out or let it go, whatever you want to do, right? So this is a very robotic way of doing it, right? Then you've got the wordy and vague cold email. I mean, take a look at that. Yes, it's short, probably fits the under 250 words bracket that someone probably told you that's the best practice, but it just uses repetitive transition words. Furthermore, moreover, and it has no specific value proposition, so it doesn't even sound trustworthy. And again, many people are just happy to send that out and think that that's great, and then wonder why it doesn't work. And then when it doesn't work, they're not changing the email approach, they're scaling it. They're going to instantly.ai and buying 100 lookalike domains with 20 more email addresses and just saying, I don't care, someone will respond to me. So yeah, this is why we shouldn't see AI helping people to do more of that. And this one, commoners, like you see it all the time now. You're seeing it in posts. It's the overuse of iconography, rocket ships, and all this sort of stuff. It just feels AI all over. So no one wants to receive emails like this. And that is a clear examples there of how not to do email, right? So if anything that you're doing feels like that, then try to switch it off and get back into more context. How is what you offer going to help them do more of what they need to do? That's really a great way to start any way of talking about outbound. And also, without even asking a question, please don't try and prescribe solutions, because you have no idea if that is even relevant to someone. So if you come at them with, oh, I'm going to skip this kind of approach, and then present them with what I believe that might be happening, again, you're going to lose the buyer and probably lose the opportunity. And that will drive you back to going back to volume, and then volume becomes the game, the spam game. So what are your buyers looking for? Now, The title of this slide probably is a little bit misleading, but what I mean by what are your buyers looking for, I mean, what are they looking for in order to quickly dismiss you? Not what are they looking for in order for you to win. So my apologies for that, but I just wanted to preface that. So then if you're too formal, right, or cold, like it's archaic, overly polite greetings like dear sir or dear madam, like you're not doing that. Also, repetitive phrasing using moreover, furthermore, and additionally too often. So that again feels a bit too placated and templated, right? And then you've got corporate speak, heavy use of jargon, leverage, synergy, cutting edge. What's the other one? I forgot. There's a word that everyone uses. Always skips me. I forgot what that one was. But yeah, there's a word that everyone uses. It's strategic or something like this. It's one of those words. And whenever you see it, you go, that is an AI email. Other, no real detail. They mention your name, but there's nothing specific about the work, the company, or any recent news about you. So, anything that feels like doesn't personalize to me, makes me feel like you've at least done some basic research. They're going to tune that out. And lastly, is a weirdly fast reply. And I actually had this today. Someone sent me something about my book. Do I want to put it into a competition? And the email was actually to a different author with a different book title. And I just responded, wrong author, wrong book title. And straight away it came back with this lengthy response about apologies. And if you want to submit, just complete this data and send it to me. So it was definitely too fast to be human. And so that just feels unnatural as well. So these are the things that your buyers you're looking for in order to tune you out. So make sure you remove all of this from your email and your LinkedIn and move forward. Now, bringing it back to the humans in the room, real responses, please, especially from amongst HubSpot partners. Does anybody know who this guy is? Yes, no, a quick yes or no from anyone, just to we move forward. No. Okay. You should connect with this. This guy is Rich Archibald. He is the SVP of GTM systems at HubSpot. And the reason that I'm showing you his photo is because I wanted him to come and talk to you today about something. And unfortunately, he's too busy, but I'm going to share the information with you anyway. So I had a good old chat with Rich, and it was about email. HubSpot were trying to work out how to send the perfect email. And this is a company that has billions of dollars of, at their hand that they can do this. So what they did is they took every sales email they have out of HubSpot and they put it in Snowflake. And if anyone knows what Snowflake is, data warehouse, right? And then they ran a machine learning algorithm across the data to see if they could find the perfect email based on the large number of sales emails they've been sending since 2010. So they had like a good segment of data to go through, right? Did they do that? No. So then they moved to a heuristics approach. If they weren't able to find a pattern, could they find stuff in the language that worked? And they spent more time doing that. And did that work? No. So what happened? They decided that there is no such thing as the best email. It's all about the recipient and not about the seller or the sender. So the more invested in their own success your AEs and BDRs and SDRs are, the less chance you've actually got of landing the correct messaging with the recipient of that email or that LinkedIn message. And as you can see, the pattern that develops across what we've talked about so far is the more you make it about them in their context, in their reality, in their time, the higher the opportunity is, the more likely it is you're going to increase that. So it's a great story, and it would have been great for Rich to come and tell you himself, but connect with him on LinkedIn. This is his LinkedIn profile picture. So if you're looking for him, you can go and find him there. He's a great guy. We'll have a chat with you. But I wanted to bring that because that's really relevant. We're all trying to land the perfect message. And the truth is, there's no such thing. You really have to do the work to understand your buyer. So collect all that data, get all those call recordings, all those unstructured pieces of information on your HubSpot notes, on the deals and the contact records. Pull all that in and see if you can find patterns that will work for your company, because there is no overarching silver bullet. And I'm glad that we could get that in today, because that might be a quick win for everyone. So that brings me back again to the message adapts to the signal and not personas, right? So personas help you understand from your own perspective who you're selling to, but stop selling to people and sell to problems and the lifecycle logic. Yeah. So where HubSpot fits into this, sorry about that, is lifecycle logic plus AI insight and controlled automation. You can't automate everything, but you do want to make sure that you can start thinking about personalization at scale. And we'll talk to you about how you might go about doing that a bit later on in this presentation. So what's up next? Yes, pipeline conversion. This was the second theme from the problems, the go-to-market problems that you guys said you had. And this is what you guys in the room said. Your issues are lead gen, pipeline growth, the MQL to SQL in your pipeline, and conversion rates. And some of this is going to tie back to the last theme, which was communication and actually trying to engage prospects. Excuse me. But pipeline problems really are prioritization failures. They're not volume problems. People are trying to solve not being able to sell to the right person at the right time, or even let's rewind that, not being able to communicate the right message at the right time to the individual. With let's just go with a volume game again. So somewhere in there we'll send 100,000 emails, and maybe 1,000 of those might land with people, right? And be happy with that. And if that's what you want to do, great. I mean, it's not what I would want to do, but the truth is, if volume works, then everyone who is now today running mass outbound would be winning. And whether you're an agency or you're a SaaS or whoever you are on this platform, I would 100% be assured that you're receiving emails right now with people offering you discounted Outlook email addresses or instantly.ai or SmartReach or whatever they are, all tools that just volumize the sales process, but they actually don't really deliver you any results and probably do some more damage to your brand than you'd want, right? So they're not winning, they're just becoming noisier. And if noise makes you feel like you're being productive, again, go and do that. But noise shouldn't make you feel production, results should make you feel productive, right? So AI doesn't help you talk to more people. It helps you decide who deserves attention and who doesn't. And that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to be more analytical and less voluminous, which is the right word. So I want to talk about some of the HubSpot features and the AI that's going to help you do that. And we use HubSpot Enterprise. I'm not sure what you guys are using, but we use the sales tool, Sales Hub Enterprise, and they have the predictive lead scoring. And obviously they're using AI to analyze the tools, analyze your deals, analyze the behaviors of previous deals, and give you a likelihood of this deal moving down the pipeline, which is good, and it's good as part of a bigger package of what AI is doing for you, but it's again not going to be the only solution, because really, as I said, it's just modeling the likelihood to progress. But we can break that down into 4 ways that it does help you, so that you can sit back and think about how your behaviors will help better lead predictive scoring, so that your sales team are getting better and better at spending the right time on the right deals and not spending time on the wrong deals. So you've got engagement momentum, which is page visits, views, clicks, email opens, replies, how recently you were in contact with this said person, and so on and so forth, right? And so what AI needs to take out of that is interest increasing or decaying, right? Then you've got buying friction and sales readiness, and days since last meeting, days since last contact. Are you connecting with them on a regular basis on the phone, or is it going to voicemail, or just not connecting? Email domain quality, and then life cycle movement. How fast are these guys moving down your pipeline? And AI really here is inferring, can sales realistically advance this contact now or not? And then we've got conversion behavior, form submissions, unique conversations, outputs, opt-outs, opt-ins, response patterns. AI should be able to analyze these patterns for you and ask, does this contact self-educate, or do we need to have some human intervention? And if it does, is HubSpot set up to tell anyone that that's what they actually need to be doing, or is it sitting in a report somewhere that nobody's actioning until the end of the month, and then by that time it's too late? And then finally, we've got like the firm graphic fit, which is where Breeze comes in. And so Breeze can help you with data collection and data enrichment, company sizes, revenue, tech stack, industry match. I'm not wholly reliant on Breeze. I'm not a massive Breeze fan. So anyone in the room that is, it's not my favorite thing. I think it's generic, it's okay. The agents don't always work the way you want them to. And so we're heavily into custom AI, but we do like to integrate with HubSpot's native Breeze to make where it makes sense. So what is Breeze really there for? It's helping to understand that. Sorry, someone's trying to get in the room. Is this opportunity likely to convert, and is it worth it? So predictive lead scoring isn't about finding more leads. It's about preventing sales from wasting time. And I want to stick with the whole Breeze thing, right? So right now, the Breeze prospecting agent, because I had a really bad experience with it. And so, we've got some partners on the call, and some of you guys are probably thinking about how you use it. Back in November, I know we're going back some time, I activated part of Breeze, and I blew through 3,000 Breeze credits super quick and really didn't understand what I'd done. And all I did was put on the monitoring agent. And I've got a bit of a story about that to get to. But ultimately, if you don't know what you're doing with Breeze, it's expensive. And I think not everyone has got a massive budget to just go out there and just keep buying Breeze credits. And so we need to be really mindful of that. But what it is good at is operationalizing like all of this prioritization logic that HubSpot's building, right? Monitoring engagement signals, which helps reps to decide who to engage next. But engagement monitoring alone is not the same as sales intelligence. And the two things are not hand in hand, and you shouldn't confuse the two. In AI-driven go-to-market, cost efficiency becomes a forcing function because ultimately we need to know what we should be tracking at the right time, and also what we're spending on that, because sometimes tracking doesn't pay into the pipeline for a long time. And so you do need to be budget aware, and you can't just turn these things on ad hoc and just hope that, you just top up the credits again every time they run out. So if the intelligence that you're gathering is getting expensive, the only thing your customers will do for partners and for you guys, running your own sales teams, they're just going to default back to volume. And all this good stuff that we're showing you that you can do and how you should behave will just go straight back out the window, and they'll want to buy instantly.ai, because ultimately everyone's under pressure to keep numbers low, results high, and volume feels like a great way to fill that gap, but it's not. And here's what that looked like. So Arise AI, if you want to call it that, is just custom AI. We're using an open AI workflow into HubSpot, and we're using it really well because for us, this was what happened. I said that we turned on the monitoring agent. It was only 34 contacts, which is why I didn't understand how we blew through 3,000 credits. For £3.60 versus the £27.30 that was spent, all that prospecting agent did, or the monitor agent did, was just monitor 34 contacts to see if they changed job, or if there was a fundraising around them, or just one of these trigger like signals, right? What we did for £3.60, we analyzed 34 companies. We understood what their strategy was. We put all those hiring signals in there. We then scored them ourselves. We understood what their issues were, defined which personas we needed to talk to, build different email strategies for those different personas, and then sent them to the pipeline for the reps for £3.60. So I'm sorry, sometimes HubSpot is not going to be as efficient as some of the custom solutions available to you in the market. And this is just a way that we can show you that happened. But As an AI-enabled go-to-market agency, obviously tokenomics is crucial, and not tokenomics in terms of crypto, but understanding if my business is going to go to OpenAI or integrate a hybrid Breeze OpenAI solution, it's not just about can we do it, because can you do it? Yes, but how are we managing budgets on what we can burn? Because if you don't know how to, well, you will know how to prompt, but if you don't know how to price the prompt, £3.60 becomes 360 very, very fast in a couple of hours. So believe me, you do need to know what you're doing. And so this is worthwhile touching base on. So coming back to where we started, why do we not start with scoring or outreach? You've got to start here, which is the segment level insight. So what's going on within the target audience, and how do we differentiate them? And the easiest way to get to this is to use the jobs to be done framework with your product marketing team or whoever's speaking to the audience, and figure out how your buyer understands their situation, so the problem that's come, what they do to then try and figure out a solution before they end up with someone like you, agency partners or SaaS solutions or service solutions products, whatever it is. What do they do to identify the problem, figure out how they might solve that, and then put some people in a group to start talking to, right? And that's an age-old problem, but the jobs done framework, if you use that with your customers, you definitely get to a stronger understanding of what matters. So think of it like this. In terms of how we work as a go-to-market agency, our Rise OS, the way that our flavor of go-to-market, if you want to call it that, that's helping us decide where we want to play. HubSpot's AI with Breeze decides when and how, and then obviously when your sales team then get involved, they can execute that with confidence. So in 2026, the best go-to-market teams won't be louder, they'll be calmer, more selective, and more precise. And AI will make that possible for you, but only if the system is designed for it. And truth be told, HubSpot out of the box wasn't designed to be an AI tool. They're layering AI into it and they're giving you these features, but it wasn't originally designed to do that. And that's why you're going to run into problems. So the conversation isn't about, do you replace Breeze with Arise? No, it's not. It's about proving what the prioritization has to be before you engage with your target audience. And so moving into the third theme that you guys add, AI from features to embedded decisions. And so hopefully we're kind of getting there. So what did the room say on this? AI everywhere? It's not useful. It's not repeatable. And you're finding it hard to operationalize. But pipeline problems are prioritization failures. They're not volume problems, right? So want to make sure that if you're using AI, you're using it to do the right things. So this is a good slide, because AI really doesn't belong in tools, right? I reckon if you looked at your day-to-day operations in your own company right now, every single tool you use offers you an agentic solution, an assistant, right? And so for me, you're inundated. The analogy I've been using with people is, if you put the world's best 22 footballers on a football pitch and you gave one team a manager and you told the other team just to get on with it, the team with the manager is likely to do better than the team that is just a bunch of players playing amongst themselves, right? And the reason being is because you've got someone who's giving it some guidance, orchestration, authority, and purpose, right? Somehow you're expected now to use all of these agents in your world really, really well. And I just don't think that that's going to be useful for people, and it's going to be overly time consuming. So my sentiment is AI doesn't belong in tools, it belongs in decisions. So that's it. And the better question is, which decision inside HubSpot should AI influence, right? So that's my question. Which decision inside HubSpot should AI influence? Has anyone got any ideas? Well, let's introduce the AI maturity ladder. So this is something we came up with based on obviously everything that you guys have told us, but also a way to kind of help you start thinking about it, right? So you've got experiments at the very bottom. Everyone's experimenting with AI. They're trying to figure out how they can use it. Their chat GPT and their Clauding, their vibe coding. They're doing all this stuff and they're experimenting with it and it's really cool. But does it add value or is it just a way to make you feel like you're becoming a little bit more au fait with AI? Then you've got, assistants. So now everyone's like, oh, I can have an assistant for this, a content assistant, a marketing assistant, an ad assistant, a research assistant, and da-da-da. And it's like, okay, so how are you actually organizing all that to trigger off in the right times and, you know, all of those things. So if every time you've got to stop to ask the agent to do something, it's stupid. And maybe you want to build agents into workflows, I don't know. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's a great use of your time. And it can actually feel like you're being more productive when you're being less productive. Then you've got embedded decisions, right? So this is now when you're bringing AI into your tool stack, but in a very deliberate way. And that's what, you know, you're seeing everyone use this sort of operating system language on LinkedIn. And, you know, you do need an operating system, but what does that actually mean to anyone? Or does it feel more like AI hype and jargon? Is it just a way of people saying, I'm not RevOps, I'm an operating system? And, you know, we started this operating system positioning 3 years ago, and now I just feel like it's useless. It's just defunct because now everyone thinks that there's an operating system. But how do you use AI embedded into your tools to give you the right decisions? That's where you need to be. And then obviously beyond that, you get into orchestrated GTM, and that's really when everything starts to come together in the right way, right? And that's when everything is fully integrated and singing from the same sheet. And so we've got our own flavor of doing that, and it'd be good to understand through the Q&A what you guys are doing. So most teams in this ladder are stuck here and here, right? And they feel like they've got really, really good, you know, I'm experimenting with it, I can get it to write this and that. And I'm like, well, how much of that is detracting from the day-to-day value you can add in the roles that you do? So where does AI belong in HubSpot? And where does it actively do the damage? That's what we really want to understand, right? So HubSpot as a platform enables you to do all of this. You can experiment in HubSpot and then actively saying, go into the Breeze studio, build some agents, etc., etc. I don't think they're that great. And I'm sorry if anyone here has built them and you've got them in the marketplace. I still don't think they're that great. Assistants, yeah, great. But how are people embedding decision making from that AI into HubSpot? Because I'm not seeing how you can do that natively. Yeah, it gives you all these agents and you can put smart properties into workflows and trigger the AI to go and do stuff. It's still not helping you orchestrate. It's just doing stuff. And you need to move out of that mindset because it's going to hold you back. Now, AI is where people feel busy but not useful because AI, it creates motion. Like I'm doing stuff, but it's not creating progress, right? So this is where you're not getting any leverage. You're not writing with a copy about context. It's auto-enriching without validation. So you're just telling it to auto-enrich and then it just goes on and keeps doing it. But why? Do you actually need all of the data being validated? Do you need all of this company information being persistently and consistently updated and enriched? Is that really what you need it to be doing, or do you need it to be doing something else? So who's putting the prioritization in? How does that sync to the bigger go-to-market strategy? And how is that enabling you to just drive more revenue, bring down the waste that gets into your pipeline and make sure you're hitting and nailing that message faster and faster? Because AI belongs at these decision points and you've got workflow decisions, right? Who enters a workflow, who gets routed, who gets paused, who gets suppressed, right? So if AI can decide if something should happen, let it do that, but don't just let it decide how something should happen, right? And then you've got revenue risk decisions. Again, AI can flag earlier than humans can, right? Because it can operate in real time. It's not using lagging metrics, lagging dashboards. So if the system is designed for it, you can enable it. And now we're getting into the true understanding of what go-to-market enablement looks like. And while we're on the enablement subject, it should enable decisions. And AI's job is to reduce like and not assistance and effort that makes. Sorted on changes interfaces, and we're not really wanting to change interfaces. So bolting on is prompting, widgets, chat tools, right? Embedded AI is the workflow gates, lifecycle logic, prioritization rules, risk alerts, and that's a very different way of looking at it. So embed it, don't bolt it on. And again, come back to the data. The worse the data, the poorer the AI. So AI only works when the system knows what matters. Oops, sorry. I'm just going to let you digest that. Yeah. Without the segment insight and the signal clarity and decision logic, there is nothing to optimize except the junk that already exists in the CRM. Right? So final theme here, was the data, RevOps, and scale, right? So this is what the room said. We've got problems with data hygiene, architecture, RevOps, attribution, and tech sprawl. So again, AI is not going to fix your data. In fact, it punishes bad foundations faster. So the worse your data, the quicker you're going to find yourself in worse trouble, and you're just going to be spuriously aiming around, firing blanks all over the place, right? So data used to be an inconvenience to RevOps. People were not always 100% about trying to tidy up email addresses, even with like Never Bounce and all these other tools that are available to you to get healthy data. And then Clay come along and everyone thinks that now I can just scrape and get all this information in real time. But how updated is it? How real time is it? Because everyone's scraping the same information, right? So you're still going to need ways to clean this data up. Otherwise, it's still going to bounce. It's not going to be delivered, and that can damage your domain score, right? So good data is no longer a nicety. It is the very lifeblood of a solid go-to-market strategy. So you only need 5 things to be AI ready, right? Clear lifecycle definitions, consistent object relationships, signal integrity, outcome tagging, and decision timestamps. And that's it. Anything else is optimization and not foundation. So those are the 5 things that you really need to get your engine running. And we talk about RevOps quite a lot. Old RevOps, dashboards, retrospectives, lagging indicators. I've mentioned this several times throughout. Modern RevOps this year, signal governance, decision logic, automation boundaries, trust in the system that people can get on to do the things that they were hired to do, right? So if an AI-enabled go-to-market is not a reporting function, it's a decision enablement function. So RevOps needs to move from being sort of process and reporting led to decision led. How do I just get my teams the outcomes they need? And it's not necessarily about tool sprawl. We talk about tech stack and multiple tools, right? But most teams, they don't fail because they have too many systems. And if RevOps doesn't own decision quality, everything that you optimize will just optimize the wrong things perfectly. Yeah? So what's HubSpot's role in all of this? So in 2026, HubSpot needs to become your system of action. It should be the lifeblood of where your life cycle is controlled, where your workflows are reinforced, where execution has real strong consistency. And AI's role is in signal interpretation, timing, hiring, firing, fundraising. These are all signals that have been around for ages, right? So it's not about do we have them? It's about how do they fit into a larger matrix of signals and how do we synthesize them into a usable manner that can apply to the sales process or the marketing process so that we can speed up revenue, right? So risk detection, prioritization, exception flagging. These are the things that you want to do. We want to use AI for, but together, HubSpot executes, AI guides, but most of all, humans decide, the human in the loop, right? AI should influence decisions and HubSpot should enforce them. And this is why scaling go-to-market with AI isn't a tooling problem, it's a systems design problem. All of you have got the tools. You've got Apollo, you've got Bombora, you've got HubSpot, you've got some sort of Gong, you've got all the tools in the world, and you're still struggling because it's not a tools problem for you guys. That sounds like a subscriptions problem, to be fair, but it's the way the system's been designed to work together or not. And so how do you set that, put it in the right way? Well, the strongest go-to-market teams won't have the most data. They'll have the most trusted system. It's not about volumes of data. Is it right? Is it accurate? Can we use it? Is it synthesized in a way that I just have to make the decision, is this right? And if all of that's true, then all of your go-to-market problems will dissipate. Because from what I saw in the list, the 70 plus list of questions, was that you all have the same root cause, is that your go-to-market systems that you're using, they were never designed for AI. All of them have been retrofitted with it. And so now really it's just SaaS plus AI. So your messaging breaks, your pipeline's leaking. AI does feel noisy because you really don't know what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. The data you're using, yeah, you're expanding it, but at scale with these higher volume email solutions that you're buying into, it just collapses. And it's not anything to do with your teams or your personnel. It's because the underlying systems that you're using, they weren't built for use in an AI world. So how do you get around that? Well, modern go-to-market systems run on this loop of signals, decisions, and execution, right? And to accelerate that loop, you need to interpret signals faster, improve decision-making, enforce execution, and make sure, because AI, sorry, I forgot my water. AI only works when the system already knows what matters. If you're not already guiding, putting that orchestration in place, then it's just what it is. It's just there. It's there to be used. But AI should not just be there to be used. It should be used to enforce. It should be used to lead and guide because someone has put the right processes and the right orientation in place, right? What most go-to-market stacks seem to be missing is that there's no shared operating logic across the tech stack. So someone's got to manufacture that. You've got disconnected objects and signals within HubSpot. People are building these custom objects, but they build an object and don't figure out how it works with the rest of HubSpot's already native features. So that goes against them. And then AI is just being bolted onto workflows that are already broken. So most teams don't have the go-to-market stack problem, as I said. It's the operating system. That's the problem. And so we built Arise. It is one system, one layer. Our approach to go-to-market was, how do we remove tech sprawl? How do we integrate AI so that the system's thinking for itself? And how do we enable people to remain really good at the things that they're doing in the go-to-market space? So marketing, sales, customer success, the executive leadership teams. Because we shouldn't be thinking about processes and reporting. We should be thinking about enablement and decision making. And so for us, it was about one toolkit, one system, one code base, and basically a bunch of connected objects on a system that we've already bought into, which is HubSpot, right? So this is a quick whiz through. That was pretty much the answers, the response to the answers that you guys presented, and so I'm glad that you stayed with me. We've gone, a bit over where I intended to be, so apologies for that. But if you want to sort of continue, I'm just going to walk through what we're doing as an agency, not to sell you it, but so that you can see what is possible. And so I'm going to quickly whiz through them. So we put go-to-market strategy as a plan back in HubSpot. We have an object that has strategic record keeping. It's basically a product marketing engine, because I don't think that you win by having strategy in Notion, OneDrive, Google Drive, wherever it is, except for where the teams are executing. But also with AI, if you've got strategic records inside HubSpot, you can actually track what you say you want to achieve against how teams are performing, because you've got all this marketing, sales, and customer success data. and then you can reorientate really, really quickly. And as AI becomes more and more lively, you'll soon be able to ask the AI, well, based on the last 4 years' strategic decision making and performance, where did we go wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So we're seeing it as the future of where this go-to-market is going to be. We built an entire competitive intelligence system, which is an object. Again, this is built totally native. It builds digital battle cards. It enables people to understand the market, and it automates itself using custom AI. It's not using the brief stuff that HubSpot's selling you. We've talked about digital battle cards. They're enabled on the sales records and the deal records. Customer intelligence. So you will all go and speak to your customers. What this object does, it tracks their behavior in your marketing and sales. So it understands what they open, what they read, what they respond to, what ads they buy into, and then it gives you the behavioral data that you don't get from your other channels, right? So this is all enacted in real time inside the system. There's a PLG object for people that are product led. There's the ABM object. So we've expanded in the tandem with HubSpot's marketing functionality. So we've expanded that. And then we built our own AI prospecting system, which synthesizes all that data that we've talked about today. And so the reason that I wanted to talk to you about that was because it's about what you can do. Now, if we built all of those objects on HubSpot, so can you. If your team are thinking about subscriptions and not systems, that's a problem. And so why would you want to go and keep buying stuff, adding more problems, more friction, more AI, more noise, all the things that you guys have said you're running into, instead of simplifying what you're doing and actually curating native objects in HubSpot saying, I just need this thing to give me this. I'm buying this subscription, I only want 40% of the functionality. I'm buying this subscription for 70% of the functionality. You're just wasting money. The future of go-to-market is in orchestrated data, native to the tools you're using, and minimizing that tech sprawl. So that should be your golden takeaway. Any questions? I know there is one question, and if you want to speak to me, that is a way to talk to me. The question was, how go-to-market and AI help on campaigns? Well, I think we've covered quite a lot of that. AI can help on the campaigns from the HubSpot side. It can help you generate landing pages and ads, and you've got the content remix. You've got all of those things that HubSpot gives you natively. They're all good. I guarantee you, if you've got seasoned marketers in your team, or you've got sales reps, they can use that and go off piste. They can feel like it's just what it is. It's not picking up a brand. It's not saying, excuse me. If I'm running an event and you can see my website, the AI landing page builder is not looking at your website, picking up your brand colors and building one that matches your landing page, right? Your brand colors. So some of it again can make you feel productive, but make sure the productivity is useful. AI for us, that whole synthesization layer, that is literally what we've built. So for us, we know that we have an ICP. We use this that whole toolkit we use in Arise. So we just enroll the ICP into the company object, and then the AI takes over. It scores them. It figures out what the issues are for those companies. It then in our inbox, we just get a load of hot leads, hot warm nurture. It also does something which is quite interesting for people that are trying to align sales and marketing. Once it figures out what the sales motion is to this company, it scans our website. It looks to understand if we've produced the content that can prove to this prospect that we actually understand their issue. And if we don't have it, it actually builds a micro strategy for that company of the content that your sales team does need in order to prove that this is that you guys are credible and can do that. And for us, that's a really good win, because it stops us wasting time trying to fill a market need, and we can get tighter and tighter and tighter around the content that we need to prove our expertise. So these are the things that are winning for us. And again, looking at the ABM is tied to the deal record. So if we have a big account that we wanted to land, we landed quite a big deal last year using the same toolkit. These objects all talk to each other. So partner object, we have a partner program we run. The partner object understands and automatically tiers people. in terms of how they contribute, co-marketing, sales revenue, all of those things. And so the system, the go-to-market shouldn't be about buying more subscriptions. It should be same as it is in terms of building a strategy, right? You work out what your goals and objectives are. You then work out what the strategy is that you need to achieve those goals and objectives. You work out from the talent available to you where the strengths are. You then buy the tech after you've done all those things, because the tech should enable the people. The people should not be like holding on to the tech. It should not be that way. And then finally, you get the tactics to deliver on the go-to-market strategy, right? And so that's how it operates. I talk about this a lot in the book because, you know, I've been a CMO, a CTO, and a CRO. So I come at this like tech revenue acquisition, and it comes across in you know, how do we enable product marketing to be where the CRM is, because you know, you're doing sales enablement, competitive enablement, all that market research goes on over here, and then they're feeding it into sales teams. But often that can still be too late. So the reason that we build that flavor of go-to-market is because we see that it's based on best practice. It's not us saying this is the one way you can do it, and you can expand from that go-to-market in what suit you and your go-to-market. So how does that help on campaigns? It helps you identify correctly the right people to reach out to and when, why. And in the background, whilst your team are just making these calls, sending these emails, the system's learning how to be smarter, so the AI can curate better emails, so that your marketing team are getting better understanding of the content they need to produce. So that means if you can understand what emails and language in the emails that you're getting the responses from, you can also translate that language into paid advertising, so that your ads are learning from those segments. And because you can then segment it either with personas, I mean, I talk about personas, you build that persona object because HubSpot's personas, like, you know, put some names against a persona. It's much deeper. It's got the interview questions available to it, and then obviously it's just synthesizing how different job titles are responding to what content in HubSpot. It's just learning from the rest of HubSpot and just curating it in a much smarter way. So it's, for us, we're all about the decision outcome rather than the process. You don't need to know that there's 2,400 properties that we built across those 11 objects. That's irrelevant. Do you need to know that the outcome of all that is going to get you the right message for the right person at the right time? I think that's more important. And I think anyone here who has a sales team or a marketing team, even a retention team, you know, there are churn signals involved in all of that. You're going to get the information you need to run the right campaigns. So take away the guesswork, spend money on what you know should work based on the segment. So I'd rather run 10 smaller ad campaigns to 10 segments of the same persona than one big ad campaign to the persona and see what happens. Because I guarantee you, if you've got 10 different messages based on the historical trends of what gets them to convert, what language was used, and all of that understanding, you're going to get better results. And that's what you're about. It's easy to raise money and spend $1 million on ads or whatever, but if that doesn't get you what you need, all you're doing is spending money. And what I like to do is reduce what you're spending, because you're spending it in the right places, which gives you an increased return on what you do. So I hope that really answers your question. If it didn't, I apologize, but that's the best answer I've got. For someone entering the go-to-market space today, the playbooks from 2020 outdated. If you were starting your career now, would you focus on technical skills or soft skills? Well, soft skills are always the best. And I think determination and approach and aptitude outweigh a lot of skills. You've got highly skilled people that can't talk to people and they're not great. And actually they get set in their ways. And one of the things I always talk about is the glut of the fractional CMO. I love fractional CMOs, they're great partners to work with, but in many cases, they've spent so much time orchestrating, they haven't been near the execution. And so you get all these early stage firms buying into it, but they're not technical, they're not sophisticated around the things that matter. And a lot of the time, they're expensive. So it's not that they don't provide value. It's not what I'm saying, but you need to get the right value in place at the right time. And for everyone who wants to go into the market this year, having the right systems in place, knowing that what your systems do is give you outcomes and not the ability to send an email or the ability to call, but outcome is when we enroll a company into our CRM, the system does all the data synthesizing and analysis, and actually based on what we know about our go-to-market, it grades who I need to spend time with. Now I've got performance because I can improve the quality of time my salespeople are spending chasing the right targets over, having just like a list of people that fit. And yeah, you just goes from there. So for me, soft skills are massively important because you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to take direction and not take it personal when you get told that maybe what you're doing is wrong or it's not what someone else is, because everyone's got experience to contribute. Technical skills are great, but I want to see what you can do. For me, I want to see what you can do, not what you can talk about. I want to see how you can relate to people and not just work on your own. And so, the world got us working remotely and doing all these things. And it's great. If you can lone wolf it, it's great. But I want to know how you can also come back and communicate your ideas to the team. How can you convince someone on the team that this experiment that you want to run is the right experiment? So it's, soft skills are massively important. I would not say that any playbook is outdated. They're outdated if they're just replayed verbatim. But if you're taking learnings from them and then experimenting on those learnings, that's useful. If you're taking something that worked and trying to iterate on that, that's great. It's as useful as if you just come up with a hunch. Data helps us make decisions, and what we're looking for is smarter data, more integrations, and that data actually being activated for us. 2 years ago, I was saying no one needs more data; they just need more outcomes. They just need to make a decision. What's the point in going to a quarterly business review as a senior leader, figuring out from your dashboard what's gone wrong the last quarter to spend the next quarter trying to fix what went on in the last quarter, and every time you're running 6 months behind, you need, if you've got the right orchestration and the right systems, that just happens in real time. That's why we built that go-to-market object, the strategy object, because what HubSpot does with that is every quarter it generates a new strategy object based on the performance that it can read from the CRM. So if you're looking for something that holds you to account, gives you the information in real time, you don't have to go and look at lagging metrics and lagging indicators and putting Google Analytics and all these other things. You can just look at what's going on in the revenue pipeline, and then to dive underneath it, you can go to all these other systems. So again, that orchestration's there. So one more, last question for everyone here was, RevOps has evolved from a back office function to a strategic growth engine. In 2026 and beyond, do you see RevOps eventually owning the full go-to-market strategy, or will it remain a support function to the CRO? I think ultimately, either the COO, the CEO needs to own the strategy in tandem with the CRO, and go-to-market strategy is an organizational-wide issue. Yes, product marketing typically own it, but to look at it as a silo, as a business unit owns go-to-market is a fallacy. That's why when I see salespeople saying they are go-to-market, I'm like, you're not. You're a sales team. You have sales tactics and strategies that roll up into the go-to-market strategy, but this is not the go-to-market strategy. So for me, RevOps can be a very powerful spine to it. And if you get someone in RevOps who's also a go-to-market engineer, well, that's an even better mix of skills. But ultimately, it's about a company-wide motion, and it's not about a single business unit or a single group in companies. How it's an organizational-wide thing. And again, this is what AI is going to enable you to do. Using AI, you can synthesize all that data and then use it productively or orchestrate it so it gives you the right answers as and when you need it. So guys, we ran over. Thank you for spending time with me. I got through all the questions that we've been fired in there. The recording will go up. Appreciate you. If you need to get to me, as I say, you can do the QR code. But thanks for your time, and I appreciate it.